iced coffee.
Yeah, can you hand it to me? Thanks. Did you stir the cream?
I did, but then it sat there for the last 10 minutes.
Okay. Hello.
Are we starting?
I tried to. You got so excited. Hello.
Hello.
All right. We're back.
Please don't slurp on the podcast, Bill.
Yeah, no kidding. I forget what the name of that is.
Bill has a hard time with
No, there's a proper name for it though. Mm-hmm. It's a condition. And
like noises, mouth noises.
But
nobody else in our family can make them except for Bill. So like if you're trying to eat something, you like literally have to go into a corner and hide, trying to like nibble on your like chocolate piece. And Bill's like this. What is that? Meanwhile, slurping away with that coffee I made you.
Sounds like you're making fun of my condition.
I am.
Okay. So we talked about last week kind of getting back on the horse, back at it. Mm-hmm. But we sort of, at the end of it, went towards confidence and belief. And that's been something that we've been talking about pretty much daily.
Yeah.
For the past week. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So I think we want to dig in there, dive in there.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great topic. It's one that we're exploring, we're experimenting with, we're seeing how it presents in our life. And I think we're uncovering some really good things and approaching it with curiosity, and like our mindset of approaching it is really unlocking some things that have probably been locked for quite a long time.
I would agree.
That being said, it's not dogma, because it never is.
Right.
And that's super important to, I think, just continue to say, because we don't know if someone's listening to this for the first time or for whatever, but like it is a giant experiment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at. So why don't you kind of get into, briefly, just to address it, why we started talking about confidence and belief, if you remember. I have an idea, I kind of remember.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was 2 weeks ago I hit a little bit of like a wall, I guess, mentally with the training.
For your half Ironman.
For my half Ironman, which is this Sunday. And, I guess I've had that experience before with other, mostly like physical endeavors, where I like start to have doubt. It's really like consuming, this like waking up, thinking about it, not visualizing in like a productive way, but just kind of an all-consuming sense of like, how's this gonna go? I don't think I can do this, all of that. And I don't think I really wanted to talk about it, but I knew like it wasn't going in any productive way. And part of that journey is like to uncover that stuff. Otherwise, just doing the race, what would that, other than getting the sticker for the back of the car, really would it be an achievement for me in my development? So we talked about it, and what I hadn't considered up until that point, I guess, in my life was the difference between being confident and really believing in myself. And so I think at that point, you kind of brought to light, like, at that point, we weren't talking necessarily about confidence, but more so I had to really believe that I could do it. And then from there, I think we started differentiating, well, what is that versus confidence, and kind of how those two things present themselves. But the belief piece which I guess sounds so simple, um, was like a huge step for me, I think, in my life in general. And I say that to say it's like a core, internal, non-wavering thing versus what I feel like I've kind of covered it up, or kind of been confusing it with like something more fleeting, like confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And so to really ask yourself if you believe in yourself, I think that's a pretty big thing.
So do you believe in yourself now?
Yeah.
More than you did?
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it was like, I guess it's not like just asking the question. I went from not believing to believing, but like kind of having to be at that jumping off point where you're like, you have to sort of make a decision. Like, are you going to take that step and say like, yes, I do believe in myself. And I think that's like a really important step to take.
Yeah.
And it can make all the difference to actually just acknowledge that. And then approach, like, so the next morning I had a bike ride. And at that point I was a little bit like not feeling like doing any of it,
Mm-hmm.
I think, because of the doubt, because it was like...
Prior to the bike ride or during?
Prior to us discussing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, it just felt so heavy and not enlightening, I guess is kind of a word. And then after we discussed it, and I really had that like grounding of like believing in myself, it changed, getting up, going for that ride, like really an appreciation, a sort of jumping off point for things from that point on. And since then, I've really enjoyed the rest of the training. I'm enjoying the lead up, because I have that like that foundation to like support it, versus it just being like a pit that can't really support like feelings of excitement or joy, because there's just no belief to support them.
Right. I think believing is hard. Like, you think about things. I don't know why like Disney movies is running through my head right now, but you hear belief and I believe and this and that, and it doesn't really, you can't see it most of the time. I think some challenges with belief is like, how do you know?
Right.
And it's like, no, I believe, and people have probably said belief when they were referring to I'm confident in, and then something doesn't happen, their belief gets disproved when it was really their confidence in a result of an external thing just proved otherwise. And then like this questioning of belief. And I think like you hit the nail on the head with belief being something like deep within yourself, that core of you, that inner self, like just who you are, believing in that.
Right.
But developing belief is something you very much can do, and that is tangible. That is trainable.
Do you think belief is, so like, could I believe in myself as a business woman, but not believe in myself in my ability to do a triathlon? Or do you see it as like...
Yes,
right,
for sure.
Right, so it's still, like we're saying, one of the things we talked about was that like confidence is kind of situational and external. And so is belief to that degree. But it's like in that scenario, like I'm just thinking about, for me, that unwavering, like I really believe in what I do.
But believing in what you do, let's say as a businesswoman.
But like not like who I am in that role. Like who I am as a person that is impacting people or affecting change through fitness, through that kind of thing. Like I believe in that. Yeah.
Why?
I just like that's like who I am.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is,
how has that belief been built?
Right,
how have you expressed that belief?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think small little interactions, experiences, successes,
failures, learning.
Yeah, failures, but yeah, I feel like that belief is something I'm much more, that's not as new to me. That's something I would say And so I think people might have that, like, and that's where sort of not having like, yeah, we talk about like the imbalance or that arch that I know like Strong Fit talks about, and I think that arch concept is great all over the place.
Yeah.
So like you might have a belief in like professionally, like who you are, how you are in that profession or whatever, what you do, which I still think is a belief in yourself. But you might lack belief in other areas of your life. And that's like, and then I think that's where that, for me at least, that's where the imbalance has been. So it can look very much like, well, I have self-confidence because I have a belief in what I do, as, you know, in this profession, how I help people, what my purpose is. But that doesn't, you know, that doesn't then just create belief all over the place in everything I do. So you can't.
No,
you know,
it's not it's not something that you can just click your heels and say belief.
Yeah.
And snap your fingers and have it be
right.
something. And that's
but I
where.
think that's the. So I guess what I was trying to say with that is it can be. It can kind of hide or mask. Like it never occurred to me that I didn't have belief in myself in other areas.
Sure.
Because I had such a strong belief in one area. And then it's like, wow, I really like that lack of belief in something is there just in a specific.
Well, that's why
outlet.
I think that mindset being an expression of something of an inner belief.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say it again because whatever, but a mode of self-communication
mm-hmm.
that drives actions as expressions of inner beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it and like, okay, how am I expressing my belief in self? If you're expressing it in serving others, working with others, whatever it is that you're doing, and like, you know, that is your identity, and that's why it's so hard when that element gets removed to be like,
mm-hmm.
well, fucking, who am I now?
Right.
And who do I believe I am? I've seriously struggled with that. You know, for my entire life, I believed that I was going to be in special operations.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there, and I was good. And I was getting better. And then I left. And now it's like...
Right, the arch is kind of imbalanced.
Yeah. And it's like, well, then I think that... And I think conceptually understanding, okay, belief is something internal.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence is something external in a given situation. So
mm-hmm.
like you can walk into a room at here's a hypothetical scenario. You walk into a conference center, one of those
mm-hmm.
giant expos, like they rent out the Hilton kind
right.
of things. Everybody's walking around with those awful name tags. And it's a fitness conference. You walk in there, do you walk in there confidently?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I know I'm familiar with that. I have experience. I'm in my element.
Sure. You walk into something with finance. Mm-hmm. It's a financial whatever.
Right. Not confident.
Not confident. Why not?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the opposite. I'm not familiar. Maybe I'm inadequate. Maybe I have some insecurities about.
Well, maybe you just don't know anything about finance.
Sure.
So, but then it's like, okay, well then what's the belief element there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you walk into that room, and if you're like, you know what, I don't know jack shit about finance, but I believe in who I am as somebody who just, you know, is you and your internal
mm-hmm.
traits, you can probably learn, you can probably network,
right.
probably figure some things out and make it a positive experience. And like that belief, like, yeah, that's going to outnumber all of the confidence in the world.
Right.
And higher confidence often
masks
belief.
So what's interesting that we talked about, because I think not to like talk about the race, but like it's a good, mm-hmm. it is a good example.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, you know, I think for me in the past, or like even with CrossFit events, like for me in the past, I would have leaned on, okay, I'm going to do the full swim, the full 56 miles, and the full 13.1 miles before I do this race.
Mm.
Because that will give me confidence. Kind of like that situation of a, you know, finance thing. Like, well, I don't want to feel like I don't know. So I'm going to check those boxes. And while there's like responsible preparation, that would just be like a superficial confidence that if I don't really believe in myself, that's really just kind of it's a false sense of like, okay, I've got it. But if there's nothing really supporting that belief, things might go wrong, this and that. I don't know. What do you feel like?
Let me stop you right there, and we'll refer back to CrossFit because let's go back to regionals circa 2012, the dumbbell snatch.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Yes, you do.
I mean, I remember. I don't know what year.
Whatever. Year doesn't matter.
Yes, it was a 70-pound dumbbell
70-pound dumbbell snatch for women.
Yeah.
At the time, that was like really heavy.
Still, for me, it was really heavy.
Yes.
For most. It's a heavy dumbbell.
Yeah. It is a heavy dumbbell.
Yeah.
You did that. Mm-hmm. Like you built your confidence prior to. You trained that, but you trained the confidence. Mm-hmm. Because it was like validation, 0, 1, yes, no, pass, fail. Yeah,
I did that workout multiple times in its entirety.
Yeah, you're crazy. But anyway. Mm-hmm.
Then, day of. So.
You trained. I
trained a split snatch.
Yes.
Consistently. Had no problem, damn near.
Years before the 2019 games.
Years before that. Imagine that. I trained the split snatch because I was much more comfortable with that. It was a better position, whatever reason for me.
Well, what was the reason? Why was then the split snatch what you went to in training?
Well, I never trained the power snatch.
Well, I don't think it's a negative, like a confirmation by negative. I think it's, to me, what I'm hearing is you had belief in your in the split snatch.
Yes. Okay. So right, but what I'm getting at is like whatever I did in the training. I mean, yes, sure. In that micro example, I did have a very strong comfort level with the split snatch. Let's call it that.
Okay.
Did the workout multiple times in preparation. I mean, never even, once I had it, never missed a single snatch.
Yeah.
Day of, was in the top heat.
Yeah.
For like that one workout. I made it into the top heat. The best females at regionals at that time. And was in the athlete tent.
Yep.
And had some adrenaline going. Mm-hmm. Watched all these other girls. Nobody was split snatching. Everybody was power snatching. And I thought, let me give it a try. Now, you were nowhere to be found.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know why you didn't work to get a coach's credential, but we'll leave that for another podcast.
What happened on that?
I don't know. You weren't there. You were a spectator. So I power snatched it and thought, oh, I can power snatch it. I did it. I'm going to go out there and power snatch it. And then it went terribly wrong. And I really struggled because I didn't have a belief in my ability. And that's what I was saying up until this point. I don't think I ever had a belief in my ability in CrossFit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I did workouts. I checked boxes. I finished. It looked a lot like, okay, this number, this data.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, the same thing the next year, ironically, with the hundreds thing. Or whatever it was, there was like a number of handstand push-ups.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I same thing, was in the top heat, got kind of carried away, and there I was, and I remember going into each of those workouts just feeling so bad and really thinking I am the worst athlete here. That is what I thought. And I had no belief in my ability, my athleticism. It was as if I had gotten the wild card to go to regionals and had just...
Yeah. Well, not the wild card. It was you got a sympathy card.
Yeah, they picked me out of the crowd. I'm hey, come on down. You want to try one of these workouts?
Right.
Which, I may not have been, of course, the best there. It doesn't matter, though. I did earn a spot, but at that point, there was no belief that supported anything, which also led me to not be able to enjoy any of it.
Right.
The part I enjoyed most was when it was over, which is sort of sad.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to be this experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Because I think that's the thing. Confidence doesn't represent you. Mm-hmm. like you as a person, like your ability is, and I'm not gonna really get into the whole ability thing, but like confidence is about task completion.
Sure.
Belief is about who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, I think, maybe not ironically, but interestingly enough, I have a lot of belief. I'm working on it in some areas. Let's just say, I generally believe. I believe. It might be a strong suit, might be a downfall in certain scenarios. I have way less confidence than I do belief.
So what do you think that? So mine presents itself in getting stuck in like the minutia, like because there isn't that underlying. Like, okay, so if I didn't believe in my ability on Sunday, I might be now thinking about like, well, what if it rains? What if it's this? What if it's that? I can only perform, and I can only finish this if like all these things are like this, and knowing that that can't happen, and what about this, and like that would, I feel like, what I would be coming at it from. So for you, how do you see in the reverse, like having belief but struggling with confidence? What would be an example of that for you?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of one. I'm like kind of blanking right now, but
I feel like for you, it'd be like, for example, the practice is like really valuable. Like,
yes,
it's an incredible tool.
Yeah.
Confidence would maybe be like getting stuck if like by this point maybe like nobody's registered for it.
Yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Like I believe that the practice can positively and significantly change people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it like the chicken and the egg thing? Like, do I believe that because it has, or did I believe that and just it happened? And I would say that likely a combination of both. Like I think probably a bit misguided to say no, I know. But I believe that nonetheless. Confidence with it is like, I wonder if other people think that. I wonder if other people, because it is obviously like my business, I wonder if that's something that people want. I wonder if I'm doing something wrong, if I'm not messaging clearly, if I'm so like there's all of that, all of that external stuff. And frankly, like I do deal with a lot of rejection, and people call and they want something. Now it's like, I mean, there's a lot of people who choose not to work, like don't sign up or don't work, and I've had plenty of coaching calls and initial consult calls and that kind of a thing, and the people then like Kaiser Soze and go off into the wind, and hey, that's just part of it, and that's cool, and that's fine. From a performance standpoint, now I'm not a CrossFit athlete. I've never been a competitive CrossFit athlete. We know that. There's some who don't know that. There's some who don't know.
I mean, I beat you most times. I'm far more fit, so most people.
Somebody mentioned to me. I'm not going to name my sources, but somebody said that I looked like the first week of the practice workout wasn't as devastating to me as it was to you. I mean,
well, it wasn't because you didn't work as hard.
Well,
you did less work.
No, but you missed the whole point then. So you missed the whole point of the first week. I'm
just saying you.
Anyway, okay, enough
power output. Okay.
So I jumped higher, much higher, and I weigh more than you.
You're not a CrossFit athlete.
I'm not a CrossFit athlete, but I'm very confident in my ability athletically to like do stuff.
Yeah. So like, if somebody said you have to do this race on Sunday, you have to.
Yes.
You have a belief, like, okay. Like,
well, I have a belief that I would be able to do it. Mm-hmm. I don't have a degree of confidence with it.
Because you haven't done any of the... You've never been on a bike from...
yeah, because I know how to ride a bike.
You can't swim.
Right. So I can't swim. I can swim as long as there's floaties on. Okay. Yeah, like my comfort level in the water and my shoulder, like every time I swim, my shoulder's killing me. But like, do I believe I could grind through it? Yeah, I do, because I think that is something would call on, this race would call on things within me that needed to come out in that scenario, that just my physical
that exceed
ability
just your physical ability.
Yes. And I would say, to make it like real life, last Veterans Day, I ran a marathon on an assault runner.
Right.
And I didn't train, like, to say I
like
trained.
You barely even ran.
So I
prior
destroyed my ankle a few months before.
Doing a
stupid CrossFit
regional workout.
So I destroyed my ankle.
Yeah.
Way worse than I thought.
Yeah, very bad.
Yeah, still like is fucked up. I ran on 9, so I destroyed my ankle around March, probably because it was regionals.
Yeah.
On 9/11, ran like 800 meters for the first time. That was the first time I ran in like 6 months or whatever. And then the week of the marathon, I did that. I did like, you know, a
26
couple.
point.
What? No, the week of the marathon, I did like a workout, like a normal kind of workout with like a 100-meter run in it for 5 rounds.
On the assault runner.
Mostly to make sure that my running shoes were sort of broken in.
Right.
To avoid like a blister, because I was like, I don't really want to run this thing barefoot. And then that was it. Yeah. So ran literally a mile before a marathon.
Right.
So there was never a doubt. There was a tremendous amount of belief that I was going to run that marathon. You know. Yeah. Now, if it was, hey, do you believe you're going to do this in 5 hours? No. Right. Like I don't, because that's not what we're talking about. Because now we're also adding.
Now you're adding a performance piece.
A performance metric.
Isn't like you could believe that you're going to run a 5-minute. That I could believe I'm going to run a 5-minute mile, but without the proper training, like that's not what we're talking about. Like the belief that I'm going to finish it or not quit or like those kinds of things, those fundamental like.
Right, and I don't think the question is kind of like the I don't think it's belief versus confidence or belief or confidence. I think to really maximize your performance, your capabilities, yourself, it's belief and confidence.
Yeah, of course.
You know, because I don't have the confidence to do a lot of things because I haven't done them. Even though I might believe I'm capable or I believe I'm hard worker or believe I'm resilient, but like this, you know, like the I believe I can fly thing. Maybe that's why the the
Disney.
Yeah, but isn't that a Space Jams thing? Michael Jordan, whatever.
No,
anyway.
I believe I can fly.
Yeah, that's that movie where they play basketball in space.
Or...
Anyway, you know, that's not happening.
There is a Dumbo movie. You know Dumbo, the elephant that flies? Is that what you're referring to? Go on.
Anyway,
both. You need both.
So building the belief. So then I guess it's a question of like building the belief or building the confidence. And I think that's where you kind of to make it more well-rounded, you can ping pong between them. Like building the belief, I think, is having the presence and the awareness that what you're doing is expressing something about. How do you build
how do you build the belief? And I think that's where it gets back to the mindset stuff, that you have to really have a dialogue with yourself. So then it's like, okay, well, because the next question would be, well, I mean, was it really just you telling me like, hey, believe in yourself? Like, no. I think I wouldn't have probably been open to that or been able to have that success without also having done a lot of work on a conversation with myself up until this point. Writing.
Right.
So I think that's part of like, because if you don't have that belief, well, like why? What's getting in the way? And if you don't know that, that's the work you have to do. You can't just, as you're saying, like snap your fingers and say, okay, I'm going to believe. Like, it really has to be real. Lying to yourself and saying, I'm going to just say I believe.
Yeah, you can't fake belief. Yeah. You can't fake belief. You can't.
So then well, how do you develop that? Yeah, I think the belief piece is a much more internal process to develop and figuring out what's going on with you, what's your self-talk, what's happening. Confidence is more of like, yeah, you can do tasks that help build that. Yeah. But it's less of an internal process. And belief to build is much more internal, and there's not really like a thing you can do to help that other than like actionable items to help get to know yourself better.
Yeah, and I think that's like something that getting to know yourself better is how you build the belief.
Right.
And if it's only about building confidence, I mean, it's like the classic thing, like, you know, people that put on the show or emit this level of confidence.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you see right through that.
Yeah, and you know, we watched that Iron Cowboy movie with the guy that did the 50 Ironmans in 50 days, and like that's such a great example of like the guy was a really good triathlete before he started that.
Yeah.
But like if he didn't, so he was probably a super confident. Like if he went to a race, I'm sure he was confident because he won the Ironman or whatever. But if he didn't have a belief in himself that like and something that really was like internal, there's no way that guy was finishing 50 Ironmans.
Yeah, that's a great point because there's feats of performance that cannot rely on confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear a lot of like when I was playing more, I would more to like the sports performance people and the confidence and the training and the visualization. It's a whole bunch of crap, honestly. It really is. Alex Honnold. How much preparation?
Right.
How much training?
He's the guy that climbs.
Free solo El Capitan, meaning climb that thing like a spider with no ropes.
Right.
I am sorry. There is no amount of testing, validation, knowing, whatever that
he
can
had to
possibly.
Just believe he could do it.
Who swam? Who was the
Diana Naya.
Diana Naya. You think confident? Do you think she was I'm sure she was confident. That
she was a
she
great
swam
swimmer.
From,
like she was a
college
swimmer. She swam from Florida to Cuba.
Florida to Cuba.
Like 90 something miles, I believe.
Yeah, and
with no assistance.
And how many times did she fail?
Yeah, no, she fell at least once. I can't remember.
Oh, I thought she fell like 2 or 3 times.
Maybe she did.
Bit by all them jellies.
Yeah, she had serious, but like, yeah, she had a belief that she could do it. So
yeah,
years after she failed, it was still this thing like, no, I know I can do this, and that's.
And it's like, well, that's perseverance. That's grit. That's resiliency. Yes, possibly. At the core of it is belief in yourself, and I think that's, you know, when we were chatting, I was saying like I had no. If you were to look at me on paper, sure, I was physically fit prior to entering the military, fit, whatever, blah blah blah. To be in special forces, when, you know, hardened combat veterans, very experienced people fail or quit or just aren't good enough, you're going off the street and you're going to go try out 6 months in the Army and I'm in formation at Camp Call in selection, like, confidence?
Right.
No, it was fucking belief. Like, I knew that whatever, and that goes into a big thing of like, whatever was going to throw at me, I have a certain set of belief in myself, of who I am, that I will approach whatever is thrown at me with that. Yeah. I might fail. I might step in a hole. I might break my leg. I might do a bunch of stuff. No, and that's all the stuff. And, you know.
And that was like, honestly, one of the, when you talked about that, like having the belief that you can try. Like, and try is such a weird word, but like, yes, you can't control those circumstances. I believe what you said to me was, you know, something could happen. I could start swimming. I could get kicked in the head. My bike could fall apart. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball for that. But I know how I can approach that day, the race, all of that. And, you know, if you hadn't, that's a really good, like, not having confidence because you didn't have those external, like, check marks, but you had a belief in yourself. And that's...
I never shot a gun.
Yeah.
I never read a map. I never walked in the woods. I never rucked. I never put on other than a soccer uniform. Like, there was a million reasons why I shouldn't have been there. Yeah. You know, and confidence is immediately destroyed when expectation and reality are different. And it's like, you cannot rely on confidence for that. Now, can you build confidence? And does confidence have utility in a training program? Yeah, of course. Right. And there's a lot of that, like with a performance where you are building confidence. I mean, even in unconventional warfare, we would talk about like, look, confidence targets. Right. Now, what are we doing? Are we calling them confidence targets? Are we calling them belief targets? No, but they're confidence targets. Low-hanging fruit, things that you are going to go attack, whatever, sabotage. But it's not for the purpose and the end state of that mission tactically. It's so that when you're working with indigenous folks or whomever, that they start to believe in themselves that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And like, not just because, you know, the whatever they hit that wasn't defended got brought down. It's more than that, like
mm-hmm.
deeper than that.
Yeah.
And so that's a big one.
But I think that's what you just said, when expectation and reality, like that's a whole other discussion that we could talk about. But
yeah.
that mismatch, and that's where, like, you could look at the CrossFit Games, you could look at so many things, people's life in general. And I think that is, there is such an emphasis on confidence, and that's just not, if that kind of is the first thing to go when expectation and reality are different, then you got a real problem. And if the belief part's never discussed, which that's why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
That's where people really just, it could be losing your job, you could be like an incredible lawyer, have all the confidence in the world, not really believe in yourself from like a fundamental level about anything else, and you're expecting to get made partner and you lose your job and the law firm closes or whatever, like, now what? And that's where people go into, like, and I think that's for you been a struggle, as you said, like balancing or finding that belief in yourself that's outside of special forces, because it is just, when something disappears on one end, like, like having a belief in yourself beyond that, you know, so there's those like subcategories of belief, and to have that to rely on, like, because it's belief in yourself as a, you know,
and there's no tip, there's no trick, there's no, hey, here's the blueprint, here's the hack that look people in the eye, firm handshake, commanding voice, be loud, puff your chest, like.
But I think it's a good thing, and maybe, I don't know how long for wrapping it up, but like, one of the things I think for people like, well, I don't know, like, do I believe, or is it confidence, is kind of looking at, like, you know, right, if this happened, like, for me, like that, for me, asking myself, like, at the race, like, if something happened or something unexpected, like, would I still believe, or would that, like, be devastating? And so that's kind of a good, like, oh, if it's like, oh my God, like, I would be like, that would be awful, and I don't know if I could do it, like, only if it's sunny out, and only if I'm in this pay, that, like, all these things have to be just so, then that's probably heading in the direction of, like, I don't know how much, like, actual belief I have. Same thing with, like, your job. If this were to disappear, like, what would I be at? So kind of some of that questioning to help you determine, like, guide you a little bit.
I feel like before you were on, I did a podcast about belief. I think it was like, what would it take to believe? Yeah. And it'll be interesting and it'd be interesting to go back maybe and listen or whatever. Yeah. But I think that, like, now, as we're also digging deeper personally, which is cool, and that's why this thing exists, is to be, you know, just along the journey with us as well now. Yeah. If I were to ask you, what would it take to believe, and you were to say cross the finish line, you're probably looking at confidence. Yeah. What would it take to believe? And it's just like, what do you mean? I fucking believe. Like, there's no answer to it. Right. And it, you know, of course it's not as black and white. It's very gray. Yeah. But if you look at things and it's like, what would it take for me to believe? And see what comes up. Mm-hmm. You know, but like, building, you can still, I believe, build your belief. Mm-hmm. Presence and awareness, doing things with purpose and intention, vectored in the trajectory being inward. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the, if I were to say, that's the prescription or the suggestion for building belief. Right. Because it's not a light switch. It's not just I'm here, I believe now. Like, you cannot rely on that. That is not the case. So having that presence and that awareness during whatever it is, exposing yourself to failure. And that's why I think failure is such a great teacher, because it's like, I failed. I was doing sets of pull-ups, or you were doing a training run, or you're doing whatever. And you didn't do what you were going to do, but you're, you know, still there, or you're you know, Marcus and Olivia weren't like, Mom, don't come home. Yeah. You know, like.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting today. So we did our last swim, like, and I wasn't really sighting, and I was kind of off course, and I did think about that in a way of like previously that probably would have been like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
I wasn't sighting right. What if that happens? What about the race? Da, da, da. And it was just like, okay, like it's fine. I believe I can do the swim, and that's like a technique thing to be like, okay, be aware, check it out, see if you can see the buoys. If not, you have to lift your head up more. But it didn't like rattle me. And in the past, I think that would have, because I would have needed that swim to make sure that this and that, and to give me that like boost. And it wasn't. It could have not happened or happened, and I would have been
Right.
fine.
Ironically, yes, you missing the buoys or today, you were, if this was like a confidence swim,
Right. I would have failed.
you would have failed
Yes.
and you would have doubted your confidence.
Yeah.
Your confidence would have taken a hit. But it's like, hey, if I were to throw you in the water, would you be able to swim? And and you're like, yes, of course. That's belief.
Yeah.
So very exciting. Very, as I told you this morning, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
So Lake Placid half Ironman this weekend. That's pretty big. That's cool. What else? The practice kicked off this week.
Yep.
Amazing group. By the time this posts, there's going to be approximately 2 hours to sign up for it because I opened it up for another day, but likely you missed the boat. What else do we have?
Right now, that's it.
That's it right now. Yeah. New season, new, new opportunities and stuff, and so it's pretty cool. So if you guys have anything for us, I'd love to hear it. If you have any questions, I think maybe doing like a Q&A the next couple episodes would be kind of cool. We'll probably debrief next week on that, but please send some questions over. And that way, like, and we learn from that stuff too. So very cool. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you when we get back.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
I think that was good.
Yeah.